All right, everybody. Looks like we are finally getting back on track here. Thank you all for your incredible patience. This is not the first time we've had issues with Google, and it most certainly will not be the last time. But I do want to thank everybody for just simply giving us some time to get stuff squared away here. It is never easy when you are trying to have a startup and you have been fortunate enough to build the sort of audience that we have, but at the same time, you don't have a huge budget and you're not operating on a massive scale. So, trying to just get things going in the right direction, proved to be very difficult. But we have, we finally got all the kinks worked out. We've got everything ready to go. So I'm sending out the last comments and connections for people to check us out. All right, so we've sent yet another link. Hopefully we'll get more people to check us out and to be a part of this call. I see we've got a couple of viewers now in the room, and I'm going to go ahead and access some of the functionality here so you guys can see a bit of the sort of stuff that we're doing and go from there. But let's see here. You see that I will be sharing a screen here shortly. That'll represent our homepage, and so I'll get that set up here just as soon as possible, and then we will begin the call in earnest. So again, for those of you who are viewing for the first time or for just viewing period, my name is Frederick Jones, and it is a real pleasure to be a part of for you all to be here for this latest Saturday Q&A. If you're not familiar with us, we are, first of all, we're a company called My Footprint Entertainment, LLC. It consists of myself and a couple of truly fantastic webcomic creators, White Manga, Andrea Voros, and Raymond Brown. We have put together a really aggressive operation to try to discover new amateur talent from around the world with diverse backgrounds, diverse perspectives, so that we can create the next big manga and entertainment properties. We have a different approach to many of the companies who are webcomic focused. Sometimes we get a little stick for that, and sometimes we get a great deal of appreciation. And I'm happy to say that we've got some of the best fans, period, of any comic book medium, any digital medium, and we have people who really believe in what we're trying to do, people who never saw themselves before in terms of creating content, and they see the stuff that we're doing, they see the sort of people that make up our group, and they finally feel like they have a home. And so that brings us great joy and real excitement for the stuff that we're doing. And we hope that if you're new to us, you'll check us out. As you can see here with the screen share, it is www.saturday-am.com. This is our signature property. It's called Saturday AM. It's a digital manga anthology. So it comes out every 2 weeks, and it's features some of the hottest comics that you'll find on the internet exclusively, so you won't find them anywhere else. Titles like Apple Black and Saigami, Bully Eater, and quite a few titles coming soon, including Saturday Wars, which is a really epic, revolutionary crossover of all these different franchises. We also publish Saturday Plus, which is an anthology publication dedicated to absolutely brand new webcomic creators. And we have Afternoon WebX, which is a traditional webcomic experience that features some of the hottest webcomics out there, some of the most fun webcomics you'll ever find, featured in one location. And it's Spoon and Storybook and Rough House and Z Forever and titles like that. So we're really excited with the creators we work with our reach that we've gotten so far, and with the sort of enjoyment that we've brought to people. We're a small group, we have a very strong level of experience. And so this is not something that's completely new to us, although frankly, in the world of digital, it's new for everybody. You know, this is a new world that we're in. Marvel's finding it difficult at times. DC, Image, Comixology, you name it. They're all finding it difficult, and so are we. But you know, we're dedicated, relying on what we've done in the past and what we have planned for the future, that we will create something really special. So again, thank you for joining us. Tonight's Saturday Q&A, which is a regular series we offer on our YouTube channel, is dedicated to a brand new project that we launched called called Test Runs. And this is in relationship to something that we created called pilot manga, which is a really unique process that allows us to see new creators. And I know that sounds kind of weird, because you know, we're amateur creators, and most of the webcomic industry that exists thus far is nothing but amateur creation. So you know, we certainly understand how, you know, when you listen to that, you're like, wait a minute, okay, so what is pilot manga? We created pilot manga really in a nutshell to be able to deliver a more focused opportunity and a more simulated opportunity for amateur creators to understand what it feels like to create content, to actually have to create content. There's a wide variety of reasons why we did this, but the two biggest are directly related to our mission statement, which is, one, we want to elevate the realm of webcomics, and we want to play our part in elevating it, is what I mean to say. And the way that we view elevating the realm of webcomics is to make sure that that webcomics that we produce, at least, are dedicated, they're focused, they have actual stories they're trying to tell, they have characters that really are engaging and unique. And from that perspective, you know, the vast majority of webcomics that come out just simply don't do that. You know, a lot of it's kind of fan fiction, and on many of these websites that just allow anybody to upload their content. That's what you get a lot of, you know, that, or you get gag manga, and we're not really focused on that sort of humor property. So that's one of the big challenges I think that exists. And then the second one that we have always determined to do is to really try to find creators who are offering a different perspective. Therefore, they're offering new ideas to manga and webcomics in general. And again, you know, when you look at the vast majority of webcomics on all these different websites, so many of them are similar to each other, or similar to Naruto or Bleach. And you know, we take great pride in the fact that we have a very small group of projects that we launch, and a small group of series that we support, and all of them are different to each other. You could not compare Saigami to Apple Black. You couldn't compare Spoon to Storybook. You couldn't compare Islanders or Comet Man to, you know, to new properties we have coming, like Explosion Joe and things like that. So it's really fascinating when we look at other sites and other creators, just how differently our thought perspectives are. It's not that anything is negative, it's just that we view things in a very different way. And so pilot manga was really a way to focus what we were trying to do, so that we could both discover that new talent and empower that new talent to actually try to tell engaging original stories, and think outside of just the fanboy box. Just because you have the talent to draw and you really like Dragon Ball does not make you a manga creator, or make you someone who can create manga. But you know, but having that sort of power, having that sort of talent, and then having a different perspective or lens given to you to allow you to really kind of think about things in a different way, might allow you to tap into a level of thinking and a level of creativity that you never knew you had before, and can produce some really astonishing results. So, you know, we're really excited about pilot manga. It's a private group, meaning that you have to actually ask to join it, and we do screen every single person we bring into the group. We're trying to prevent people who would either steal content that's not theirs, or prevent people who are there just simply to spam the people who are there. We try to find creators and amateurs who are serious about trying to create a career in either comic books or web comics or something of that ilk. And it's been incredibly successful. It hasn't quite been a year yet. We've had over 1,000 people try to join. We have a membership right now that's I think right around 310, and we've produced some amazing talent that has never been seen before. And we take great pride in creators like Leonardo Massip and Philippa Borman and so on. So, we're really excited about where we're going, really excited about Pilot Manga. And one of the hallmarks of Pilot Manga is something that we do called test flights. Test flights are monthly competitions that essentially give creators a chance to compete with one another, but also to simulate what it feels like to actually produce a real comic strip. And so you ask yourself, okay, well, what exactly does that mean? And we have rules basically that would dictate and that do dictate what you're supposed to create. And so, we try to simulate a scenario where you've got a deadline, you've got certain parameters that you have to achieve, you've got certain ancillary things you've got to do, like maybe, turnarounds or certain types of illustrations, cover art, marketing objectives. And we really try to throw the creator into a professional sort of mindset that forces them to truly evaluate what they're doing. And this is a hallmark of what makes the Saturday M and Afternoon WebX creators tick, because these are creators that, unlike, again, a lot of webcomics out there, these guys are producing content so consistently that, again, we take great pride in how we're producing content and the excitement levels that we build with our readership, who just come back every week or every 2 weeks to see what's happening next. We take a lot of pride in what we do with that. And so we want to try to help creators find that sort of voice. Doesn't fit for everybody, doesn't work for everybody. Again, some people don't like the pressure of time. Some people are really, focused on the sort of story that they want to tell. And so as a result of that, the test flights have been incredibly rewarding, incredibly frustrating, and incredibly challenging to so many creators who've gone through it, which have been well over 40 creators at this point. So again, we take tremendous pride in what we're doing, and in this group, and in this particular initiative with test flights. We've uncovered some fantastic creators who are now being featured regularly, like Frederick Ward and Leonardo Massip, Yende Hall, and Daryl Bastian, and Oscar, who his artist collaborator, who just won a test flight called Remedium Plus. So we're really excited. Even people who no longer or weren't able to actually work with us, they just couldn't necessarily deal with the structure that we had, like Cameron Knight, who won back in September with Fry Cook Samurai. He just now released a manga. The experience certainly helped him, as he just released a new manga webcomic called, I believe it's called Base. And so again, we're really excited that we're discovering creators, that we're helping creators, that we're giving them a different perspective on things, that we take a lot of excitement in that sort of opportunity. And it's just really fun and exciting. And so tonight, we're here to talk about Test Run. And Test Run is going to be a different opportunity for the creators who either have wanted to work with Saturday AM or have their work featured on our website, but didn't necessarily feel that the rules fit with them, or haven't gotten into our Pilot Manga group for some reason. So Test Run is an entirely different process. It's going to make, we think, some really exciting projects, series, or stories that come out of it. Also, we think it's going to be great because we think it's going to really challenge people in ways that we consistently are trying to do, because we think, again, that the specter of the webcomic and its inability to get the sort of respect that other medium has, we think, again, is just related to somewhat of the combination of ego and naivete of some creators and the reality of trying to produce content. And I think that this is going to be an area, again, where those same sort of issues dovetail, and we'll see some real conflict, I think, within a lot of creators who for whatever reason or another don't feel like Test Flight fits them. But I think they're going to have a challenge with the Test Run as well. But it should be very fun, and we should get some great content out of it, like we always have through Test Flight. So if you've never joined us for a Saturday Q&A, let me just say again that that this is a regular series we have on YouTube. You can check out our YouTube channel at youtube.com/myfootprint, which is MYFUTPRINT.com. Sorry, just PRINT. And you can check us out from there. We're really excited with the stuff that we're doing on our YouTube channel. We got some really big plans for our YouTube channel. So what we're going to do with the discussion is, hopefully there's some questions that are set up here. I know there have been a number of questions that have been asked throughout the day. And so let me just say again that if you are joining us and you do have questions, there are multiple ways to engage with those questions. The easiest way is to send us a question via our Facebook fan page or our Saturday AM Pilot Manga Submissions group. Either one of those, you can post a question and we can answer it right on the call. Likewise, should you have a question, you can do it if you have Google Hangouts and it's not tripping on you like it was with us earlier. Then you can ask a question directly through the chat window. So there's a Q&A app on the actual Hangouts folder, and so program. And so if you access that, you can ask a question right there. It'll pop up, and I'll be able to see it. So, so again, we're basically going to spend the next 30 minutes just talking about Test Run and going into detail about what makes it unique and when you can expect to have it happen and all those good things. So again, if there are questions, feel free to ask them, and I'll be getting to those as we move on. So if you're following along on the screen, I'm actually going to the Test Run logo, which is an amazing logo designed by Raymond Brown, who is the creator of one of our hit series called Bully Eater. It's an awesome logo, really, really fantastic logo. And you can see that a couple of key details come across. First of all, this will be a series that runs on Thursdays. So during the week with Afternoon WebX, we have series on a pretty much daily basis. They update every day at 1 p.m. So currently it begins on, the week starts on Tuesday. Tuesday we start off with Rough House by Jordan Cook, and that series updates on Tuesdays at 1 p.m. On Wednesdays, we have our brand new series called Z Forever, and that is a really fantastic series, really fantastic artwork. That one launches again on Wednesdays. On Thursdays, we have Storybook by Andrew Sterling, which is one of the longer series that we've had at period within Saturday AM, but certainly within WebX. Was one of the series that helped us launch it, and it's been the most consistent series, alongside of the series that we have on Fridays, which is Spoon by David Yoon. That's another fantastic series, brutal at times, funny at times, just a great story. And so we're really excited about that. We also offer Wanted Dead or Dead by Muriel Villarreal, who's currently on hiatus. But WebX is a fantastic free webcomic series that every day updates at 1 p.m. We will be expanding that with some more series that we'll be announcing very soon. But Test Run will now start happening on Thursdays at 1 p.m. Now, it won't be every Thursday initially, but our belief is that it will be a regular series on Thursdays. And what will happen is that the Test Run series that has been selected for that period of time will actually update, and you will see a new kind of like series, 15-page short story on that Thursday. So you don't quite know what you're in for. We'll certainly do some of our great marketing and promotions to talk about it, but that will occur. That will happen on Thursdays, meaning that Storybook by Andrew Sterling, which used to occupy Thursdays, that will move to Mondays. So just to recap, Mondays starting in April will be at 1 p.m. will be Storybook. Tuesdays at 1 p.m. will be Rough House. Wednesdays will be Z Forever by Mark Reed. Thursdays will now be Test Run, which will feature many different series by original amateur creators. And Fridays will be Spoon by David Yoon. And again, we have more series that will be announced that will be coming very soon. So again, that's something that we'll be discussing at a later date. So that's kind of the first big aspect of Saturday of our Test Run series. And the next one I want to talk about is what you see here, where it says exclusive one-shots. One of the biggest aspects of Test Run versus Test Flight is that test run is literally as it sounds. It is a scenario where you have basically a short story, and the short story will consist of a beginning, a middle, and an end. And so, what we want to try to do is really prevent this thing that does happen on occasion, which is where, well, it happens frankly all the time, which is where a lot of webcomic creators who've never created a normal webcomic to begin with, or comics, have these very ambitious goals in mind. And, as people who are familiar with us know that, I'm very blunt in my commentary. And I think it's one of the things that I think really distracts and bothers the webcomic community in terms of its ability to actually grow and be respected, because it really easily falls into this realm of fan fiction. Because again, there's no thought as to actually creating a story that, first of all, entertains people. You're really just looking at someone who has always, they fell in love with manga or anime, and usually, I hate to say, sometimes it's some of the more negative aspects of anime manga, the puerile sort of stuff, such as the ecchi, or the or some of the kind of emo, weird, interpersonal behavior aspects. And then those become the sort of things that the creators are like, they really want to show it. Or extreme violence is another one, and they really want to show it. And so you can tell when you look at the story that this story really exists. And there's certainly Hollywood properties, there's songs. I mean, media is full of creative people who just go too far, and they're just trying to scratch an itch. They don't really have any story to tell. They're just doing something to do it. But in the case of webcomics, which is such a fantastic potential, which has such fantastic potential, it's really painful, because there's a chance here for new voices to really add some flavor to the debate and to the discussion of creativity from a graphic standpoint. And instead, we get some of these things that just are meaningless. And so from that perspective, we are going to institute rules here, just like we do with test flight. The difference here is that very much, whereas we provide true guidance in test flights, with test runs, it's going to be up to the creator, but we will reject the story if it goes either past 15 pages, or if it does not follow the basic rules of a beginning, a middle, and an end, period. Beginning, a middle, and an end. That's our core objective in trying to produce content. Is we don't want to be, again, a website where we have 1,000 different series that never have any endings, and frankly don't even have any stories. We want to really challenge the creators who would participate in test run to actually tell a story. And we think we've got such fantastic people who follow us, who are creative, that we think we're going to produce some really amazing short stories. The idea that these have to be epic stories or the next Naruto is just, all they have to be are just fun, engaging stories. And to the degree that creators can actually try to achieve that, we think that we'll have a fantastic experience for the casual reader, for the hardcore manga fan, for the hardcore webcomic fan, and for the very strong enthusiast who wants to one day create their own webcomic. We try to build a community, and we think Test Run is going to be a major part of helping to continue to establish credibility for webcomics, but also interest from people who want to create webcomics. And so again, we're going to have limited rules, but this will not be a showcase for you to advertise your series, that you've got running on your own website or on some other website. This is meant to be a short, one and done story. If One Piece can have over 700 episodes of anime and over God knows how many chapters, but you can sit down and watch a One Piece movie or short film and totally understand who the characters are and the world and all that stuff. If they can do those successfully, and they do them every single year, then you can create a short story featuring possibly your own characters, but a short story nonetheless. It doesn't require me to know these bizarre names and that you might have for this incredible backstory that's irrelevant to an actual plot. Just telling a story. Just hey, here's your hero or anti-hero, or just basic subject. Here's the conflict. here's the twist, and here's the finale. And if you can try to figure out how to nail that and still keep us engaged, then that really, again, whether or not you're like Cameron Knight, who then goes somewhere else and produces a webcomic, or you're like Leonardo Massip or Frederick Ward or Philippa Borman or any of the creators who come through us who say, you know what, yeah, I can do this, and take what we've helped them try to achieve, take the perspective we've given them, and create something that really flows in a unique way, then this will be great for you either way. But again, if you're looking at this as an opportunity because you've got in your head you want to tell a particular type of story, and you know, and you know, it's your 80-page first chapter. Well, A, that's not going to work because it's only 15 pages. And B, if you've got a story that you want to tell that's gonna, you're trying to impress people with like literally bucket loads of backstory that only a hardcore person who's been reading you for years would actually care about, then you know this again would not be for you. Or in the very least, for both of those scenarios, it's going to be a hell of a challenge for you because you're going to have to try to find a way to make an engaging, thoughtful story that has a beginning, a middle, and an end. So that's essentially how that one shot will function. This starts in April. You have to be a member of Pilot Manga, so this is considered officially a part of Pilot Manga. It will run when we do air the series that I indicated before. It will run on Afternoon WebX, which is the address of www.saturday-am.com/Afternoon WebX. And the final thing I can think of, and again, I'll go to some questions here. The final thing that I know people have been wondering is, you know, is this a process? Is this a pathway to join Saturday AM? And the answer is, of course. Of course. As we've indicated many times before, there are really three things that we look at when we try to find creative talent. One are individuals who can go through test flight, which is the best way, because because we evaluate so many things with creators when they go through test flights that it enables us to get a really good sense of your skill level, your functionality, your professionalism, your attention to detail, your ability to be proactive. It just gives us so much information about you, so that when we start doing the things that we do, to make these properties we have into successful properties, then it just is a huge opportunity. Second of all, by doing it from that standpoint, we feel as if we can, we'll be able to, if you join Pilot Manga, likewise, we can protect the content, which is why we have people go through Pilot Manga. We can keep track of who you are. We can maintain some integrity around in content, so that while you're sharing and building with the community, you're not in danger of someone stealing your ideas or stealing your properties. So again, you must be a part of Pilot Manga. And yes, you can you can be discovered through test run, but the best way is still test flight. If you publish your work on another website or your own website and we discover you from there, of course, if you're awesome, we're going to contact you. But test run is a legitimate opportunity as well for creators who just want to try a different path and want to get their stuff out there, and can do that. So there are two questions that I think also people want to know. But before we get to those two questions, let me go to some questions that have been sent in. And again, if there are any questions you've got, there are three ways to do so in terms of submitting them to us. One, you can do it via facebook.com/Saturday AM. That is our fan page. We certainly encourage you to join it. Secondly, you can do so on our private group, the group that we're talking about now, which is Pilot Manga Submissions Group. It's called Saturday AM Pilot Manga Submissions Group. It's a private group. If you are a member of that, you can post a note there and we will respond to it. And finally, you can do so if you have either Google Chrome or you operate the new version of the Hangouts program, then which you're watching this on most likely in some capacity, then you can access the Q&A app, and that actually will pump a question directly into the chat window that I see here. So pretty straightforward, three ways to ask questions. Let's get to a couple of them. We don't have many, but let's get to a few of them. Commemora Gamble asked, when will we see the March test flight results? And so, as we indicated before, the test flights, we have them on a monthly basis. We're currently taking a break for April and May, and for April, and we'll be returning in May. The March test flight, which was very cool and offered a set of rules that dealt with more diversity of the characters, either sexual orientation or ethnicity or gender or nationality. So we're really proud of that particular test flight. And we got some great entries in. As we indicated before, we are currently on a hiatus. We've had some transitions that we needed to make regarding both our technology and our talent level, and so we are doing that with some huge moves that we're making. And so Saturday Plus, for example, our showcase for amateur creators, returns on April 4th, and Saturday AM will return on April 11th, and we will announce the results of the March test flight next Saturday. And so next Saturday will be the reveal of that. It'll be again at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So thank you for that question, Commemora. And again, if you've got any questions, feel free to submit them. There's a variety of ways you can do so. But let's now jump into jump back into the test run discussion. And then likewise, if you have any questions as well regarding anything else within the My Footprint apparatus, questions about our Saturday tanks, we'll certainly answer those as well. But I'm going to be giving a series of announcements about all of our product lines here towards the end. So again, if you've got questions, or if there's something specific you're worried about or curious about regarding our subscriptions and so on, we'll be discussing all of those. So the last two things regarding test runs are, number one is who owns your entry? And I mean, this is an easy question. Every single creator who works currently with My Footprint across Afternoon WebEx, Saturday AM, Saturday Plus, and or creators who have left us, who no longer work with us, either by our feelings or by their admissions or some combination of both, everyone owns their own properties. Period. We started that. I made sure that was an opening part of the principles of what we believe in for Saturday AM, and we have been hell-bent on maintaining that, and we've maintained it. So you do not have to worry, just like with most websites, you do not have to worry about anyone stealing your content. Hence again, why you must join the Pilot Manga Submissions group to ensure that we also have the credibility of knowing who you are and making sure that we're having a community full of people that are trustworthy and focused on the interests of everybody versus the interests of a few. The final question I think that comes as a result of this whole process is, where can you put this? And the short answer again with this is that obviously, we're trying to run a business. And so our objective is we want to, particularly when we're the ones driving kind of the parameters of this, we want to have an exclusive. We ask for an exclusive for 30 days. And then after that, you're able to put the project wherever you'd like. What we hope, of course, is that you will continue to use this space. We hope that the series will sit there, and this will be the primary home for your entry, for your project. So so those are the two main questions. There's a third one that I'm sure will be asked, and that is how many times can you have a test run? And the answer is as many as you want. There are no limits to test runs. Now, that does not mean that we will approve every piece of content you send us. So if you're sending us literally the same story different ways, then the answer is no. We want originality, and that's the hallmark of what we do at My Footprint and with all of our properties, and it will continue to be so. So we will not engage in taking the same idea. We will not take an idea and turn it into a series because you're submitting, you know, the same story over and over again, but just like it's a monster of the week or murder of the week or whatever. We're not going to do that. But for the creators, again, who can stretch themselves, the creators who have a lot of ideas and want to really try to get those ideas out there, then this is going to be a really fantastic opportunity for you. And for that type of creator who's ambitious and is diverse and focused, Test Run is going to be a huge, huge hit. And we're really excited about working with creators who are going to be capable of that. So, so that is basically all the core metrics regarding Test Run. Of course, there are tons of other questions. And again, if you've got them, feel free to ask them. But those are, in a nutshell, Test Run. It will begin in April. It will air on Thursdays at 1 p.m. It will be exclusive for 30 days. It will consist of one-shot stories, meaning it's got a beginning, a middle, and a definitive end. It doesn't mean the characters have to die, by the way. It just means that the story comes to an end. It's not like the story comes to an end as a cliffhanger of some sort. You know, it's a story. It's just meant to be a one-off. The maximum page count is 15 pages. That does not include a cover. So if you did want to do a cover, which we hope you would want to do, then you can have a cover feature with it. We will market and promote it, but we will not provide any guidance. We will not provide strict critique. The project will be reviewed and critiqued, and we will judge it in terms of its abilities to be successful on a number of factors, including whether or not you got the property in on time. Did you follow the core set of rules that we have? In other words, if you sent 30 pages, that's a red flag, and things of that nature. Did you go past our levels of decency? Did you, put etchy stuff in there or graphic violence and stuff like that? So we'll be monitoring all those things, but we will not be providing guidance. We're either going to say yes or no to the project, and once it goes up, then we, like everyone else, will look at it for what it is. But it's an excellent opportunity, though, if you really want to gauge the views of just the average webcomic fan or the huge audience of our properties like Apple Black and Saigami and things like that. It's an excellent opportunity for that. So that is going to be the core aspects of Test Run. We are very, very excited about Test Run, and you should be too. Afternoon WebEx is an amazing part of our business. It literally drives traffic on our website on a daily basis leading up to the weekends where Saturday Plus or Saturday M come out. And we've got more big announcements coming, more series, and one massive new feature will be launching soon on WebEx called Saturday Retro. Trust me, you're going to love this. And if you're doing a test run, you're going to really love it because it's going to drive a huge amount of traffic to discover your test run. So Saturday Retro is a major piece of the puzzle for what we're going to be doing to continue to drive and innovate with our projects, and it's going to be a huge factor in making any particular creator's test run a visible hit, something that really gets a lot of people to check it out, and hopefully leave comments, questions, and give the creator a sense of what it's like to create a webcomic and what sort of audiences you can expect. I know that I'm sure that there's a number of you guys who are wondering. They're saying to themselves, "Okay, wait a minute. I get it. I understand that if I do this, if I participate with Test Run, then it's going to be seen by people." Okay, great. I understand that some of you guys are thinking that, and the question becomes when you're thinking that, well, why shouldn't I just put my comic on another website? And the answer is you can do whatever you want to do. As we've always told people, whether particularly within pilot manga, there is absolutely no aspect to you having to work with Saturday AM. We are not exclusive in terms of how we operate. I know some people have tried to brand us as such, but we're not that. We operate with a small group in terms of creators and comics and talent and things of that nature. One, out of sheer necessity. We simply just do not have the bandwidth to handle anything past that. That's a sad reality to when you've got a startup in the technology space. You know, it's like you work with what you can work with. But the key thing that I would say to anyone who asks, well, why would I do this, is really simple. We started Saturday AM specifically to be a hallmark of the sort of action manga properties that we want to see. That is literally a core aspect of what we created, a core aspect of what we were all about. And so when you have something like that, when you have that aspect of what we're trying to do, and you look at what we've created with Saturday AM, I'm pulling the site back up here so you can, again, just take a look at the power of the titles that we have. Apple Black, Bully Eater, Saigami. These are series that are infinitely unlike each other. I can't stress enough how proud I am of what we've built, because this is in no way like any other site that I've gone to. It's just not like any other site I've gone to. This is infinitely different than most other webcomic sites. Some people may hate to hear that, but that's the truth. And when you see that, when you look at all these amazing series, these amazing properties, and the diversity that we offer in terms of contents and characters, you know that if you're trying to create a property that offers that sort of diversity in terms of its makeup, its characters, its artwork, particularly if it's action focused or has a diversity of character concepts, here you're amongst titles that support that. That's not the case on other websites. The fact of the matter is that we're not a humor site. We don't have, the vast majority of series on our site are not properties that are going to be generating a great deal of hits because they're easy to digest and they're humor oriented. Our stuff is indeed series that run longer. They run longer. And so because of that sort of core focus and the properties and the titles and things that we have, again, I say again, I don't know why you wouldn't want to work with this sort of team, this sort of talent level, this sort of capacity, but you don't have to. You're under no component to have to work with Saturday AM and Afternoon WebEx. Not on any level. But if you have a property that's colorful, exciting, action-oriented, diverse, unique, and you want to enter it within test run or test flight, you have a home. You have creators who work together, who support each other. There's no clicks amongst thousands of users here. There's one click, because it's just the creators, the community that we represent, period. And that's what makes us unique. That's what makes what we're doing revolutionary. And so we hope that you would grace us with your ideas. We hope that you would trust enough in how we market, trust enough in how we view webcomics and how we view creators, and say that this is for you. And as a result of that, we promise that you'll get an experience. You may not always, you certainly won't find it easy. I can promise you that. We will challenge you. We'll knock you down. But our interest is not in trying to build you up to be a superior person or to be a superior creator. Our interest is to build you up to create the next hot, important, fantastic, entertaining manga webcomic. Period. You will not find cookie cutter with us. You will not find a home with us if you're focused on cookie cutter, fanboy, fangirl mentalities. But if you want to be challenged, if you're a fan of Vertigo or some of Image's coolest comics like Saga and Sex Criminals and things like that, if you've been a manga reader and you can go beyond just the Dragon Ball Zs, if Final Fantasy is not in your lexicon, I do not understand the fascination of Final Fantasy, but that's just me. I've been around a very long time. But if you actually can stretch creatively, if you have what I call a high geek vocabulary, then you've got a home right here with my footprint in Saturday AM. And that That, frankly, is the only reason why you would put your stuff with us, because you already are home with us. So we've got some more questions, and I know there'll be some more questions coming. So let's hop to them here. Give me a moment as I kind of pull some of these things up here. All right, so we have another question. This one is from, let's see, this one is from Colby Dressler, sorry, Colby Dressler, who writes, is test run essentially like the pilot contest, or is it not a contest? Okay, so let me answer. You got a couple of questions here. So Colby didn't just ask one question. Colby asked 90 questions. So let me get ready and answer them as I can. In fact, Colby, you asked so many questions, I'm going to take a sip of water first because I don't know if I'll be able to compete. I lied, Colby. That was a beer. All right. So the first question is test run essentially like the pilot contest? So first of all, as I said before, test run is similar to test flights in the sense that you will have to enter it. You cannot just, we're not these other websites where any Joe Schmo just comes on and uploads a comic. No disrespect to them at all. I mean, it's a unique business model, but that we're focused on what we do, and what we do is build great content. We're not, you know, it's like Apple and Microsoft. Microsoft, you know, was on every other computer. Apple was focused on what they do, and what we do is create great content. So we're not in the business of just doing anything but anybody. That's a much bigger market, and other people can do that, but that's not what we do. We want to work with you. We want to focus you. We want to challenge you to create the best thing you can create. And so from that perspective, test run and test flights are similar because you will have to enter them. You have to join Pilot Manga, first of all, and be vetted, and then you have to enter your stories with it. And of course, like I said, there are specific rules that change every time we do a test flight, which is our monthly competition, versus test run. There are just a handful of simple rules. The age, and I mean the sex and violence criteria that we have throughout all of my footprint must be respected. You must have 15 pages. You can have less than 15 pages as long as the story is complete, but 15 pages is the maximum. You can have a cover, but you don't have to have a cover. And it must be a story that is original. You can't be, you know, your take on Batman or your take on Naruto or Dragon Ball Z. It can't be your a short story that you're doing to drum business up for your webcomic on another website. So again, it's similar in the sense that we expect you to deliver original ideas, and you have to submit them. And there's no guarantee if you submit them that they will actually run, by the way. But beyond that, it's not a contest. If you enter it and you follow the rules and you've got a quality project, we will run it, period. Plain and simple, we'll run it. Test flights are different. Test flights, sometimes they might involve full stories. Sometimes they might not involve full stories. They might just involve like do an action sequence or do a romantic sequence, do a comedy sequence, stuff like that. So they're different things, definitely. And so then you have also how we gauge our feedback and criticism, you know, and so on. So as far as the feedback, as I said before, you know, I saw some of the posts that were on Pilot Manga earlier today, and people were like, "Oh, this fits me much better." And again, I don't think people really understand what this is going to be like with Pilot Manga. If anyone who goes to our YouTube page will know that we have very awesome critiques of webcomics. In fact, I think we're the only ones who do that level of critique for digital webcomics. I mean, we literally do hour, 2, 3 hours worth of commentary, breaking down every aspect of the story you submitted in test flights. I don't think anyone does that. So when we say we're revolutionary, damn it, I want someone to prove me wrong. Prove me wrong, please. This is Frederick Jones. Yes, hate me if you want. Prove me wrong. I have yet to see anyone put that much time and effort into webcomics. We do. That's what makes Test Flight and Pilot Manga such a fun thing. Test Run is not that. So again, for those people who got all excited about test run because they really want, they just know that their Final Fantasy idea called Tales from Symposia is going to be fantastic, and it's going to be a 90 chapter epic, and they've got all these ideas, but they've never done even chapter one. I don't know what to tell you. For 15 pages, you're gonna have to try to squeeze all those ideas down to 15 pages. Just like anything in real life, you're not guaranteed chapter 2, much less chapter 90. So yes, you're gonna have a real focus on trying to just create something entertaining. But we're not going to be party to that. That's the realm of test flight. Test flight is for people who are really getting into the process of making webcomics. Test runs are people who think they already know how to make a webcomic or already know how to make a webcomic, frankly. They very well might. And so from that perspective, what they submit to us will be what we look at, and then it'll be open to the public. You'll notice that test flights are open to the public only in certain contexts, whereas test runs will be open to the public completely. So you submit it, we'll prep it, put it in post-production, and put it up on the site. And then you can tell all your friends and all your coworkers and all of your family members to check it out, and we hope they do. And we hope they comment and tell you what they think about it. But it's not going to be the same level of critique or criticism that comes from test flight. It just won't. And so in terms of how you judge it, what I told someone the other day is that you're going to judge it the same way you judge it on all the other websites. Since they don't do any criticism at all, you're going to judge it just like you judge it on all the websites. But we feel like this is a great opportunity because, again, our objective is to challenge the webcomic creator and to elevate the webcomic game. So since this is a process that's done by so many other companies, we thought, hey, this will be a great way for you to see what it's like to create content, especially on our site where we have, a lot of traffic and a lot of traffic that likes the sort of thing that we do, to see what sort of response you get. When you're on a site where people can go and do go every single day to read Apple Black or Saigami and stuff like that, when you're on a site like that and then you don't see a lot of feedback, you don't see a lot of hits, that may be some stuff for you to see right there. That might be a wake-up call for you right there. That might be something that challenges you even more. But yes, we certainly will watch that. We'll make comments on our own, but it won't be the level of detailed commentary that you would get with test flight. If you're serious about really trying to hone your craft, my recommendation is test flight. If you, again, are really confident in what you're doing, you want to test the market, just straight up capitalism, test the market, see what people think, because you believe in yourself. So you don't need us telling you anything. Then fine, try it, test it, and you'll get a great look at it. And we think you will get great looks. We've seen some great comments from the public. Sometimes it's pretty brutal, and sometimes it's amazingly on point. So I think it'll work out. I think it'll be a really fun experience. So that was all the questions there for Colby. Let's see, we've got some more questions here. Let me see here. We have a question from Chang Zhong, who says, Chang asked, can we have a different, same story, character settings, but done differently with different twists, newer versions of the story, I guess you submitted in test flight, than in previous version? No, I'm sorry. Can we have a different? So I think what Chang is asking is, if you have a story on another website and you want to try to do it again in a different way with different characters, kind of refocus it and so forth, but it's already existing on another website, but you want to try to rework it, revamp it for the test run, could you? And that's a really good question, Chang. We haven't thought on that particular sort of iteration idea. I don't have an answer right now because, again, the chief thing that we don't want to do is we do not want to get into the business of trying to spam our site. You'll notice that our site, first of all, does not have a lot of ads. I'm on the Saturday Wars page, and we have ads for our products. And we have ads for some of our partners. But the one thing you won't see is a ton of ads when you go onto our site. You're just not going to see that. And so 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 I'm very reluctant for that, because essentially, if you are in the business of trying to take creations that already exist on another website and trying to say, hey, check this out, it's a little different and so forth. If you want to see what it's really like and check it out on this website, then we consider that kind of advertising. And I hate to say this, but we're a business. So, if people want to advertise with us, they certainly can offer us some money and we'd be happy to run their ad. But considering that most people in digital comics don't even want to do that, then we just feel very strongly about we don't do that ourselves. We try not to go on other websites and try to go on message boards and say, hey, check us out, yada yada. So it's something that we find a little queasy. We think it's a little cheese ball, and people do that. It's a little disrespectful, and so I don't yet know if we would go that route for something you're trying to change around. I don't have an answer yet, but my gut says probably not. So so that's just what I would say there. Let's see here. Antonio de la Cruz asks, hold on one second. I'm trying to go through our site here. We sell t-shirts, by the way, folks. So if you'd like a really cool Apple Black Doodle t-shirt, and we got a Saigami one coming as well, you should definitely check out our site. Let's see. Antonio de la Cruz asks, what is the process for submission to test run? When you submit your comic, must all 15 pages be completely finished? And Antonio, the answer to that, again, is I'm not even sure how to answer that. I mean, of course. Like, you wouldn't submit something and say, hey, here's the first 2 pages. Consider this. I mean, you have to submit the whole thing. You do the work. It's just, this is like, I mean, when you look at Test Flight, again, what makes Test Flight so unique and such a challenge for people, I think, is that first of all, like, there's a time limit, right? There's a time limit. So you've got to produce the stuff within a certain time frame, and that's a really hell of an idea. That's one hell of an idea, that you've got to basically kind of hustle to create content. Most webcomics don't. This is one of the reasons why we have the success rate we have with our webcomics, is that we've actually we're coming out with our Saturday tanks, as I indicated before. Let me go to the tanks page here as a result. Apple Black, when White started producing content for us, he had 3 chapters, and he'd been working on that thing for a couple of years. When he finished his first year with us, he had material well over a full book's worth. And so what did? We published that book, something that people had been waiting for years. We finally did it for Apple Black. And you can see here in the little gallery here what the book looks like. And you can see these are all pictures from either White or from fans with the book. And these are not Saturday AM people. These are not Saturday AM staff or creators. Those are fans. And so we made something that was something that every amateur says they want to do in webcomics, but very few actually do it. And we didn't go through Kickstarter, I might add, to do it. So, we have Saigami coming up next, and then we have Bully Eater coming after that, and then Spoon by David Yoon coming after that. I can almost assure you that you'll see Islanders this year as well as some other comics that we do. So the point being here is that Test Flight is really good for challenging the creator in a way that, frankly, most amateurs have not been challenged. And it's one of the things I think is really important, because I think one of the things that makes webcomics so difficult to succeed in is ego. And we see it all the time. We see it all the time. Young people who've never created anything, who are confident that they know what they're doing. Yes, the idea is like Naruto, or something I heard recently was it's kind of like Naruto because of one thing that happens when there's so many things that you could literally look at that do that in manga. I mean, manga rips itself off consistently, but there's always an art to how they do it. But again, it's a question of just really challenging kind of the fanboy aspect, which everybody has, by the way. Everybody has it. You don't get into comic books and you don't decide to make comic books if you don't have a fanboy in you. You just don't, or fangirl. This is impossible. you have to have this unnatural sort of love for that content and for that thing. If you're a singer, you're a fanboy or a fangirl of wanting to be a singer of songs, right? If you're a comedian, you're a fanboy or a fangirl of comedy. Like the first time if you're a kid and you go to a comedy concert and you see somebody on stage and they're making people laugh, like if that makes a mark on you, if that's something you just can't get enough of that, then you're a fanboy. When do you stop being a fanboy? When you actually do it. When you actually do it is what makes you not be a fanboy or a fangirl. Until then, and all you do is talk, you're a fanboy, you're a fangirl. And that is one of the things that really corrupts the webcomic process, because you get people who other people tell them, oh, that's my rival, or that's my, or so-and-so, yeah, that's my sensei, which I find all that kind of ridiculous for people who've never done anything. You're not published, you're not you don't work professionally doing this stuff. You just do it as a hobby, but you got this collection of other webcomic people who treat you like a god, or you've allowed yourself to be treated like a god, and therefore the fanboyism becomes so impossibly difficult to break. Because at the end of the day, this is about being a professional, not a fanboy, not a fangirl. You got to be a professional. You got to be able to work on time. You got to be able to communicate effectively, both with the people who are publishing your work, as well as any other talent that you have. You got to be humble in terms of what you're asking for, both from the readership as well as from your creative team or from your publishers. You've got to be diligent. You've got to actually be able to have your stuff prepared and have it with quality and have it actually do new things that make people excited about it. You got to be thinking about an audience. So many webcomic creators are amateurs. So many people, fanboy and fangirl status, literally do not give a damn about the feelings of an audience. They say they want it, but they don't really care about it. That's obvious when you read some of the stories. So, that challenge with this is, with Test Flight, is to help really simulate what it would be like if you made content for Marvel or DC or Image. You've got deadlines, you've got rules, you've got story parameters, you got things that maybe you don't want to do. My favorite thing I tell creators is that, sometimes when I talk to a new webcomic creator or amateur through Pilot Manga, I'm always struck when the notion, when they have this idea that they're going to create this or create that, and you're trying to remind them that, if they worked at Marvel tomorrow, they would not get to work. They wouldn't go in there and be like, well, I'm going to do this with Spider-Man, I'm going to do that with X-Men, I'm going to do that with Avengers. You're probably going to start out working on Ambush Bug, or working on Squirrel Girl, or working on some low-level, no-name comic book character, Spider-Ham, if you're lucky. Before you ever get a chance to touch the grade A superheroes. And so that's how we feel about it with this. Test Flight is going to challenge you. Test Run as well will not have all the challenges. It's kind of like self-publishing. You're kind of submitting your full thing, but again, you're submitting the full thing, and we're going to say, okay, we're going to publish this or not publish it. And that's as simple as it gets. So, you get a similar sort of pressure, because instead of producing, a variety of things within a certain time frame for a monthly contest, you may work on this for 3 months, 2 months, 4 months, whatever. But basically, it's got to be there. We've got to have it within the process that we have it in, and then it's got to be good. If it's not, we won't publish it, and then you can then take it and publish it wherever you want to publish it, if you choose to go through us. But that'll be your first understanding of whether or not you've even got something that we think is worthwhile if we decide to publish it. In terms of the process, again, you got to submit all 15 pages, and you will send it through Dropbox as usual. And the way it will work is that we will open submissions and then close them. So in other words, we will open submissions at a certain date. We'll announce a date we're going to open submissions, and then you've got that time frame that it's open, because it'll close again, and we won't accept any submissions. So that's basically how it'll work. So if when we open submissions, you'll basically know, okay, hey, I got 3 weeks to get my submission in, if you're creating something new. So that's the basic process. And again, we'll be announcing this officially on the Pilot Manga submissions group and on our website's Pilot Manga page. We'll be announcing all this officially, but yeah, we will open the process we will open the entry period within the next couple of weeks, and then we'll close it. And then we'll evaluate everything during that period, and then we'll begin publishing content. And then we'll open it again the following month. So, all right. So, so those are some of the questions that we've got. Are there any other questions regarding test runs? If not, I'll finish up just with a couple of key points that again, you may or may not know. Once again, Saturday Plus, which is our showcase anthology for our amateur creators. That will be returning on April 4th. And I can tell you that it'll be with the 5th issue. If you go to the site right now, you'll see that you can read for free the first 4 issues. Look at that. The first 4 issues for free are on the website right now, and they have the same flow and style. They have interviews like UK's Jamie Smart, or even we had an interview with Scott Alley, the editor-in-chief of Dark Horse Comics. This is amazing content, again, produced in a revolutionary way, and you can enjoy it on our website right now, the first 4 issues for free. Issue 5 will be on the 4th of April. And I can tell you that issue 6 is going to be phenomenal. That will appear 2 weeks after that. And when it does, it will include the finale of Islanders and the finale of Comet Man. And both those series will be continuing. We'll be making official announcements about the continuation of both series, but we're very proud of Frederick Ward and Leonardo Massett because both of these guys have gone through the pilot manga process completely. We've worked with them to enhance and refine their stories. We've worked with them to even present their stories. They've produced amazing content. I mean, just look at this. First of all, that's an amazing cover by Frederick Ward. Comet Man is one of the sharpest, fun reads out there. I mean, if this were an indie comic, I'm sure the Comic Resources and Comics Alliance and all these websites would be covering the hell out of this thing. And here's the interview you see with Jamie Smart. He's one of UK's most exciting creators in the independent space. And then Islanders by Leonardo Massett. This guy is the next big thing. There is no doubt about it. This guy is the next big thing. This is amazing artwork. And it's a fantastic and original story, unlike anything else that's out there in the webcomic space. I assure you of that. Comet Man and Islanders are 2 amazingly original series from creators that we discovered first, who have gone fully through the test flight process and are now going to emerge with series and with some incredible things they'll be doing on top of that. And they both characters will be a part of Saturday Wars, our big crossover concept. So again, for those people who question whether or not to do pilot manga, that's your answer. So many webcomics don't even last a chapter, much less several chapters. But these guys have gone through the process, and they are a definite, they're definite proof that having this sort of experience is positive. It makes you a better creator, no doubt about it. Saturday Plus returns on April 4th. Saturday AM, the flagship manga publication that we do, the anthology. Issue 22 came out some time ago. Issue 23 with Bully Eater's big return, and Saigami, and Apple Black, just Apple Black and Bully Eater, 2 of our biggest series, returns April 11th. And after that, it's a steady ship, and we'll run for a number of issues before we take our next break. And it'll consist of issue 24 with all 3 creators, Saigami, Bully Eater, Apple Black. And then our big 25th issue, which we're going to have some special surprises for, they'll be coming after that. And I'm happy to say that, again, we'll be additions to that. We'll be announcing some of those If you don't know, you can subscribe to Saturday AM for just $5. You can look on the site and see that we published last year 20 issues of a digital, over 20 issues of a digital manga anthology. Over 20 issues of a digital manga anthology. And people question whether or not we were revolutionary. Over 20 issues of a digital manga anthology with so many fantastic creators, from Mikhail Dingle, Philippa Borman, Vertical Fish, Beverly Toole, Mikhail Dingle. So many great creators have graced Saturday AM, and so many more will be coming. Really, really incredibly excited. And for just $5, you can experience another 20 issues of Saturday AM. We also sell the season packs. We basically collect 5 issues of the series for $5 a pop. So you can get season 4, which is issues 15 through 20, season 3, season 2, season 1, all for just $5. The very first season is $7.50. But again, sometimes we have those on discounts. Each individual issue is just $1.99. When you think about the fact that it's got interviews, original content and comics, and typically runs over the standard comic book price. Walking Dead, for example, which is an amazing comic book, retails for $2.99 digitally. We have more pages, more content, and we're just $1.99 per issue. So I've said before, best deal in comics, and damn it, we have the best deal in comics, period. We do have a brand new subscription level for $25. We'll be announcing the t-shirt design that'll be coming with that soon, but every subscriber will get a t-shirt as part of the $25 level. You get Saturday AM, you get Saturday Plus before it's made available for free on the website. You'll be a part of exclusive web chats that we'll be doing. We've got some really exciting YouTube stuff we'll be doing and be announcing soon. Some other great goodies, including 15% off of all Saturday Tanks. So those collected graphic novels of our titles, 15% off. But the best part is our original crossover event that'll be starting about the same time that Marvel kicks off Secret Wars. Saturday Wars will be debuting in the summer, featuring astonishing artwork by Tiago Ribeiro. Astonishing artwork by Tiago Ribeiro. You've never seen our characters look that good, and they look great. That series will be exclusive to creators, to people who subscribe to the $25 level. Again, you can find all of this on our website. And let me remind you once again that Saturday Tanks, if you want to read Apple Black, if you've been hearing about this amazing graphic novel, you can buy it today. It's currently on discount, but the normal price is $12.99 for the book, $9.99 for the Kindle digital book. It's got an amazing design quality to it. It's got some excellent original content you won't find in any issue of Saturday AM. It is a worthy showcase for one of the biggest webcomic series, period. Saigami from Andrea Voros is our second most popular series that we all have. Beautiful artwork, fantastic fantasy storyline that kind of skirts shoujo. So if you love or like Inuyasha, you need to read Saigami. It gets fantastic traffic on our website, people checking out the homepage and reading the first couple of chapters. People subscribe so they can read more Saigami exclusively. And this Saturday Tank that we'll be launching here in the next couple of weeks, this will be both in English and Hungarian. Our first time doing Saturday AM projects in a foreign language. You can pre-order that today. You will get a free $5 subscription for Saturday AM. And again, it's $9.99 for the print, $6.99 for the digital. So it's a little cheaper than Apple Black. It sports the same incredible design sense of Apple Black. It's fantastic. It's really fantastic. And original content to boot. Both Apple Black's available now Sagami can be pre-ordered with a free subscription right now, so get on it. Again, we have so many things coming up we tell you about. Saturday Retro, the test runs, obviously, we've talked about tonight. We have some really, really big announcements coming. So please do stay tuned and be supporting us as we go on. We just have so many great things that we'll be working on. We can't wait to interact with you guys more. We have 2 final questions. Actually, let me just open it up and say right now that if there's any more questions, we'll answer them. I'll give you 5 more minutes, and we'll finish up here with any last questions. We've got 2 questions here, so let me get to those first. Colby Dressler asks, when we talk about the beginning, middle, and end, if I decide to do it like a one-shot, like how the first chapter is usually a little longer because it introduces a whole lot of things and then has a middle and a conclusion, at least in the series as a whole, is that what you mean, more or less? And Colby, I think the answer to that is no. Colby, I'm not really sure exactly to your question. I'm not sure I understand exactly what your question is. The bottom line, Colby, is that it's a short story. It's a one-shot. It is a beginning, a middle, and an end. So if you're spending time trying to set up a character that can't be done in a panel or 2, and you find yourself spending 15 pages introducing a character and then you're getting to the conflict, then we're going to reject it. It's just, again, it's straight up. It's a one-shot. That's all it is. So, what this should try to do is challenge you to really question all the things that you've got in your head about your series. One of the things we talk about a lot in pilot manga is this notion of backstory versus plot, and how a lot of new creators, a lot of amateur creators, they get stuck on backstory because they feel like if you didn't like the idea when you hear it, it's kind of like someone who's like a used car salesman, and like when they sense that you're not interested in the car, they start throwing all this other stuff into the conversation, like, yeah, hey, I see you got a basketball shirt on. This car, it can support a basketball hoop. It's all this kind of extraneous stuff, and that's what backstory is to a plot. The plot is all that matters. If you've got an interesting character, if you've got an interesting plot, that's all that matters. If your plot literally is all these different, derivative ideas trying to come together for this big epic story that literally will require years to tell, that's not really a plot. That's extended plot. That's backstory, but that's not really the plot. Batman is about, a kid who parents get killed, and he seeks revenge on criminals by training himself to grow up and become a kind of a vigilante, and he dons a bat costume because it scares criminals, and that's what he uses to fight the criminal element. That's the plot. All the stuff about, the fact that Alfred Pennyworth used to be an ex-assassin or used to be part of the British military or mercenary or something of that nature, and he's got ties to an assassin who now wants to kill him because they know that he used to be a badass, and so Bruce Wayne has to figure out how to save his butler and all that other stuff. That's extraneous backstory type plot. That's not the plot. The plot is what we just talked about. Batman is this. Now, and that's exciting. That's exciting. But when you start getting into all the other stuff, it's not to say it can't be exciting, but if you can't nab somebody with just the basic plot, if they are not interested in the basic plot, then you got problems. And all the backstory in the world is not going to help you, mainly because, for one thing, it's going to require you to do a lot of stuff in terms of telling that backstory to make it relevant. And again, in webcomics, you don't have all that time to do that, particularly if you're updating it, once or a couple of times a week. You don't have, it's not a regular comic book where you've got 30 pages a month. And let's be clear too, by the way, if you're producing an American comic book and you're producing, say, 20 pages a month, that means you got to actually draw 20 pages a month. And that's, again, it's a question mark if amateur creators actually can do that or do that. If you think you're going to do it like manga, which so many of our fan base wants to do, well, that's 17 pages every week. So again, the My Footprint Saturday AM sort of DNA with this stuff is recognizing that you are creating content for the consumer. Yes, you should be creating it for yourself. Yes, you should be excited to create content. But at the end of the day, if you are not focused on creating content for the consumer, you got a big problem. Because the first thing that's going to happen is that you're not going to see the things that are required to make sure that you're exciting that consumer. You're so focused on exciting yourself with all that backstory that you're not really taking the consumer into question, and that should be the goal every single time. So that's I would say. I mean, again, it's beginning, middle, and end. All the stuff about the way you're putting it, at least from what I understand here. If I decided to do like a one shot, like how the first chapter is usually a little longer. Well, again, this is not a first chapter, so that's irrelevant. And what is it you're saying here? Introduces a lot of things. Again, you don't need to be, whatever you're introducing needs to service the plot. And so if you're introducing, the world and the main characters, if you can't do that on page one or in a couple of panels of page one, then again, you got problems. You're not understanding what it means to be a storyteller. Again, you're focusing on things that are irrelevant. So that's just the reality. I hate to say it like that. Chang Zhang here wrote, is there a limitation for submissions? More than 1 MP per month? Is there? Yes, Chang, there's a limitation. You can submit to multiple test run periods, but during a period, you can only submit one thing at a time, one 15-page short story at a time. So that's an easy thing to answer. I think Colby, I think clarified his remarks here, or their remarks. It says, so you're saying for the conclusion, would you be able to have a set conclusion, which also leads to future potential plot? Or would that not really be considered a conclusion then? For example, when you give the example of fighting criminals, can that story leading to, no, I mean, so the short answer is no. I mean, no, you can't lead to another sort of story. Again, it kind of defeats the point. What your objective should be trying to just tell the story. And that should be your objective. Like I said, as I said before, and again, I'm not saying this is your objective, but again, this is that sort of thing you see with too many amateur creators. If you're hell bent on telling your story, again, this is a great place to do it. And you take what comes with it. We may not publish it. If we publish it, people who read it may think it's crap, and then you got to deal with that sort of reality, right? Or you can just do it on your own. Take it to any of those other websites or start your own website and do it there and go through that process, on your own. But this is not a showcase for you to try to sell us on an idea. This is not the place to say, hey, this is a story I want to tell. We had a test flight a couple of months ago that did this exact thing. It did this exact thing where we had a young lady, I think it was called Mysteries of Babylon, and she essentially entered the test flight that asked for comics that were either horror or sports or comedy. And she basically has this comic that she's going to be doing called Mysteries of Babylon. And her artwork is unbelievably good. It's phenomenal. And the plot had some areas that could actually be quite fascinating. But again, it was this sort of, long plotted sort of thing. It's going to be lots of, it was a story that's going to be told over a very long period of time, assuming that she tells it. And at least that was her plan, it seems like. And so her short story had a very, very remote connection to the rules. So it didn't even fit the rules. There was just one aspect of blood that therefore could be considered horror, I guess. But this is more of a fantasy, Game of Thrones sort of thing as her storyline. But the story itself was really just a scene. It was a scene that was part of this overall epic. And it was frustrating because this young person, this creator, was incredibly talented. But this, again, is that ego that gets kind of out of place in webcomics, where it was a very simple rule of what to do. And instead, she took it in a different direction, trying to fit her desire to tell her story into a rule that had nothing to do with her story. And so when I see questions like this, Colby, it's like the question is, you're essentially asking the question, how do I get to do what I'm trying to do within the rules? And we've already said, look, this is a one-shot. The story begins and it ends, period. And I gave the example of One Piece earlier. I said, you do not have to have watched One Piece anime episodes, 700 anime episodes, whatever it is, or read the hundreds of chapters to understand One Piece Z or One Piece Strong World or any of the One Piece movies. You don't have to have done it. When that movie starts up, you literally know who the characters are. They explain who the characters are, what the world is like, and what the conflict is immediately. They do not waste time trying to go into all this backstory, and they don't end saying, okay, now Luffy, now you can go do this. They don't do that. So I appreciate the question, but this is the sort of thing where this is not really a question. You already know the answer to this. It's a short story. It's got a beginning and it's got an end. What you hope, and this is what the challenge will be for you, is instead of worrying about how to work your way around it, just tell a good story. People, if they want to see those characters, trust me, they will tell you that was awesome. I want to see more of that character. I want to see more of that world. They'll tell you, but that's because you focus on actually telling the story and not on worrying about can you allude to other things in the future. That right there is the sort of thinking that cripples a lot of webcomic creators. Let's see here. We've got a few more questions here, but they're coming in pretty fast. Let's see if we can get to them here. So Chang Zhang, who's asked a couple questions, she asked a question of, is there a limitation to how many entries Saturday M will publish per month? The answer to that, Chang, is no. I mean, if we've got, so, you know, I mean, there's usually 4 or 5 weeks in a month. If we get 4 or 5 entries that are dynamite, we'll run 4 or 5 entries that month, period. If we get 6 or 7 entries that are dynamite in a given period, we'll run 4 or 5 entries that month, and then we'll run 2 or 3 entries the next month. So no, I mean, that's actually a really good question. But no, I mean, no, there's no limitation. I mean, the only limitation is it good? And does it follow the really simple rules that we have? This is as really simple as it gets. Chris Altradesi Thames asks, what type of questions would you ask yourself to make sure you're entertaining your audience? And that's a great question, Chris. And I think, you know, for me, I think the key thing you've got to always ask yourself are really 3 simple questions. Number 1, does this make sense? And I talk to so many of you guys, and some of you guys I'm talking to currently, I'm working with right now currently on some stuff, and it never fails that, like, you know, I ask a question about the plot, and I get this long-winded piece on something that has nothing to do with something, you know, something about just something that has nothing to do with what I asked about. And so I think that right there is your first thing you got to ask yourself is, are you asking the basic question of does this make sense? You know, it's kind of like when you have there's those little tests you used to do. I don't know if you guys ever did this in school, but they would say, you know, take what you wrote and read it aloud to yourself. And so it's kind of similar to that. It's like, you know, if you're creating something and you're worried about how it, you know, can people understand it, you know, read it out to a family member, read it out to someone else, and again, you know, try to do what I just talked about, which I'm sure you will do. You will get excited and you'll talk about the backstory. And, you know, if they like you and they're a really good friend or they're honest with you, they'll tell you that made no sense, or I'm lost, or I'm confused. Even if they don't necessarily want to hurt your feelings and they say, okay, wait, back up, say that again. That's your clue right there that you're not thinking about the audience. That is your clue right there that you are focused way too much on telling backstory that makes no sense. The other thing I think you got to ask yourself in terms of the audience is really at the end of the day, like I said, there's 3 things. At the end of the day, you know, what is the plot? Like, what is it you're going for? What's the mood you're going for? Are you going to try to get them excited? Are you going to try to get them scared? Are you going to try to make them sad? What are you going for? Because if you can easily state that, if I answer that question and I get back a complicated answer, well, I'm trying to go for some humor, but I also want to make them cry. It's like that right there tells you that you are way past the point. You've allowed your naivete to dictate way too much stuff. You're trying to do too many things. The answer should be simple. You'd never hear someone in Hollywood go, when they produce a movie, go, oh, well, you know, we want to make them laugh, we want to make them cry. You'll hear them say that that's the effect of the film, but they ultimately will say that they were going for a really romantic or really horrific or really tragic, you know, they'll always use a specific adjective for what they're trying to achieve. And that's it. And so that's the sort of thing you got to ask yourself is, what sort of feeling are you trying to leave people with the work? And if you can't answer that question with basically one thing, then that tells you right there you're trying to do too much. And the last thing is essentially, you know, is the character at all interesting? Does your character in any way make people excited? It can be a supplement, it can be a supporting character, it can be the main character, it can be the villain, but does any of the characters actually come across interesting? Again, you know, I see too many people who love Final Fantasy. I swear to God, I hear so many like, well, it's kind of like Final Fantasy. You would think Final Fantasy is the only video game ever made, which, by the way, has like 0 black characters. So I definitely am not a big fan of Final Fantasy. It's like the worst diversity in the history of video games. But you know, like you see Final Fantasy, though, this Final Fantasy, and I mean, for the life of me, you know, none of the characters in Final Fantasy have ever become super popular except for the Final Fantasy VII game, which was really the game that rebuilt Final Fantasy, because Final Fantasy was not as popular as Dragon Quest in Japan back in that time period. I was in the gaming industry when Final Fantasy VII came out, and it just changed the game. But that game was pretty much it. I mean, that's why I so fondly remember to this day. But even then, like, those characters, superstars, are just fondly remembered sort of characters. There's a reason why Batman and Wolverine and Deadpool and some of the other characters in Naruto and so on have surpassed the test of time. It's because they're legitimately genuine characters. The Joker, a legitimately genuine character. If your character is literally just a cipher because you're just, you know, it's the same way that, I hate to say this, but like the same way I see a lot of you guys create these characters, and it's the same blonde-haired, blue-eyed character with a Japanese name that does not exist anywhere in humanity, except for manga, and you are someone who's brown-eyed and black and dark yourself, like that, you're creating a cipher. You're not creating anything original. You're just creating what you see, and there's a problem in that. I'm not going to get into the whole race debate, but there's a problem with that, because that's not, you're not trying to create something original. You're just creating what you think is what everyone else creates in manga. And so therefore, and you're not Japanese. You don't work in the manga industry. You have a totally open canvas to create something original, and that's usually my first clue that you're not creating anything original. That's usually my first clue. When you don't even think about trying to create some context or ethnicity in your characters, you're literally aping the Japanese model, and you are not Japanese. That's my first clue that you don't really have a firm grasp of an intriguing character. You know, I mean, if that's a character who's got blonde hair, blue eyes, his name is Izaki or whatever, but yet he's got, you know, he farts every time he, drinks milk, or he stumbles every time he likes to do crossword puzzles, something original. But that's the problem, is that very few of those characters ever come across as original. And so I think if you can't answer the question about what makes your character original, what makes your character unique, interesting, then you got significant problems. So interesting characters, being concerned with what your audience, if your audience actually can dig the plot, and the ability to actually, crap, I forgot the second one. I'm tired now. But anyways, yeah, I mean, that's essentially kind of the path you need to go down, is really trying to ask yourself some serious questions about your story and the audience, and that's going to tell you whether or not you're actually entertaining the audience. Because the audience wants interesting characters. The audience wants to have a primary emotion, which was the second thing. They want to have a primary thing they're going there for. You go to a horror movie. You don't accidentally go to a horror movie. You go to a horror movie because you want to be scared. So you've got to have a primary sort of thing that you want the audience to take away from your story. Otherwise, it's just a kind of empty vessel, and it'll fall like a thud. Let's see here. We've got, I think, a few more questions, then we're going to call it a night, because it's 11:17. I think we've gone quite far enough. So let's see here. We've got a question from McClam Changamire, who asked, will I make the third part of my writer's blog, which is called The Writer's Logic? And I will, McClam. I'm trying desperately. Right now, one of the reasons we're on the hiatus is that we're trying to get some volunteers in and get the staff built up. So we're trying. So again, let me state real quickly, if you at all have any interest in being a letterer, a translator, a designer, social media marketer, blogger, or work within our editorial, contact us at info@saturday-am.com. We have got some fantastic staff. We're trying to get into a bigger staff so we can produce all the stuff we're trying to produce. And if that happens and I can free up some time, I will do a third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh part of Saturday Q&A. Of the Writer's Logic series that I do, because I enjoy trying to produce those sort of things for creators to think about when they're creating content. And then Yende Hall put, he's got something, he posted something, he posted a scanlation, way to go Yende, of Naruto, but he posted it for good reason. He was showing something regarding something with Naruto, and I guess he's pointing out the, oh, so he's asking about the Naruto one-shot, and just saying how, you know, you can look at the Naruto one-shot as an example for what I'm talking about having a story that's got a beginning, a middle, and an end. And yes, you can set up all these ideas that could be pursued later if the series gets turned into a series, but they should be ideas that don't really reflect the story at that moment. It's just ideas that, you know, are hints as possible of the storylines that could happen, but not something that, you know, that impacts the story right at that moment. So, so yeah, that's a good example. I would also argue that Spoon, Chapter 1 of Spoon by David Yoon, which we have in our WebEx section, is another great first chapter to look at. It's probably one of the best first chapters of any webcomic I've ever read because it's so well put together. David's art was still developing at the time, but it's so well put together in terms of the plot and the storyline, the supporting characters. It's just a great one story that tells you everything you need to know about Spoon without telling you all the details about the world that Spoon's in. It's just great. It's really, really great. So, so yeah, I would certainly recommend Naruto first chapter, Spoon first chapter, so on and so forth. All right, well, I think that's it. I know I'm kind of rambling a little bit there because it's getting late and I'm tired, but I want to thank everybody for attending the test run discussion. Like I said before, we have tremendous excitement about the test run, tremendous excitement about pilot manga and test flights. We think that with you guys, we're going to create a really solid level of new original content that that has every potential of being the next big thing, just like everything that we try to do with My Footprint. But certainly we think that through our pilot manga group, whether you're going through test flight or you're producing a test run, but you're in the group, you're engaged in some of the conversations that we have in our community, and you're being impacted by some of the things we talk about in the community, that it's going to really help you focus your storytelling so that whether you do it with us or you do like Cameron Knight and you produce something and then post it somewhere else, it's going to help you. That much we're confident it's going to help you, and that's always a core thing. So, so yeah, that's pretty much it. Really appreciate everyone's involvement. Thank you for checking out what we're doing, and we will look forward to working with you guys for Test Run. Expect an announcement about Test Run when the open enrollment period will begin, when the open submission period will begin, and then this week. And then likewise, we will be debuting information regarding Saturday Retro, I believe tomorrow, but if not, then Monday. So, so yeah, really exciting. I hope you guys enjoyed the Saturday Q&A. And again, we are working desperately for new Saturday Q&As. We're going to have a new experience with YouTube. It'll be soon. I just can't say exactly when, but I think you guys will like it. We're certainly going to be trying to produce more content for you guys to check us out on a regular basis. Saturday Plus returns on April 4th. Saturday AM returns on April 11th. Afternoon WebEx still runs consistently. It will pick up again on Tuesday with new content from Jordan Cook's Rough House. And again, if you subscribe, we'll have new information about the t-shirt very, very soon. And we're going to have some great original chat sessions for subscribers only. You'll get 15% off of Saigami when it comes out if you choose to buy it. You can pre-order it today, get a free subscription. But you can do all of that thanks to a subscription level we have called Premium, which is $25. It's 4 year. It's still better than every other subscription that's out there on the marketplace. Our subscription at basic level for $5, you get 20 issues a year. Best deal in comics. 25, a t-shirt, discounts, exclusive chat sessions, and 40 issues of Saturday AM and Saturday Plus, and the exclusive content of Saturday Wars with amazing art by Tiago Ribeiro for just $25. Still, best damn deal in comics. Folks, that's it. We'll talk to you guys later. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we hope to see you guys next time. This is Frederick Jones saying thanks, the founder of My Footprint and publisher of Saturday AM, Saturday Plus, Afternoon WebEx, and some more coming soon. Take care.